Hi everyone, I'm Harrison Engstrom, and this is Harrison by the Stream. And today we're going to be talking about geo-blocking, how it's ruining your experience as a viewer online, and sadly why it exists. But also, I might be talking about ways you might be able to get around geo-blocking here in Australia. Now, for those who don't know, geo-blocking is a system implemented by a platform or a company that restricts the access of viewing specific content based on your geo-specific region. Essentially, your location determines what content you can view, and sometimes it's because of geopolitical reasons or censorship reasons, such as if you're watching a music video in countries like Saudi Arabia or Germany, or even this country in Australia, it might be banned or it might be restricted for one reason or another. To put it in more simple terms, imagine that your internet connection, your IP address, is like a passport, and it's only a passport to your country, which, if you're in Australia right now, kinda sucks. Now, to open that analogy up a little bit more, to get around geo-blocking is like having a real passport, which lets you go to any country you actually want to. Now, this is where VPNs come in. Now, VPNs, which stands for Virtual Private Network, are a service you can purchase, which essentially reroutes or pretends that the data is being sent and received not from your specific country. Now, VPNs vary in price and in terms of capacity, so this can include free services, or this can include paid services depending on what you want or what you need in terms of a VPN. Because basically the way that sort of copyright works in this country and the way that geo-blocking is seen, it is a bit of a grey area. It is not necessarily a legal wrong, but definitely a moral wrong, depending on who you're handling. Also, if you've downloaded Dallas Buyers Club between April 2nd and May 27th of 2014, that might be a legal wrong depending on which ISP you're with. I can't actually tell you, I can't tell you how to get around stuff. I can't even say that if you use a geo-blocking service or a VPN, that you could get content from Hulu, or you could get content from Comedy Central, or BBC iPlayer, or Dave, or you know, a few other wonderful little websites that do give content up for free and sometimes just have ads on them. I'm not allowed to tell you anything like that. I'm not allowed to tell you that, you know, if you changed your iTunes country from Australia to the United States or started a whole new account, or if you wanted to pretend that you're in a different country, you could get a whole new bunch of content on Netflix or iTunes. I'm not allowed to say that. I'm specifically not allowed to say anything like that. What I can say, though, is that sometimes people use geo-blocking or pretending that they're in a different country to get a cheaper price for certain things. Anybody who's handled stuff with Adobe might know what I'm talking about. In fact, there was a great story that came out a few years ago about people who were in Australia, and they found that it was much cheaper to buy a flight to the United States and purchase content from there rather than living in Australia and paying at a normal price. Now, this is stuff that I've talked about in the past. This would be known as the Australian tax to some degree. Now, VPNs can be as cheap as $5, and you can pay a monthly fee, or they can be like free little services or Chrome extensions such as Hola, which basically mask your IP or pretend that you're specifically in a different country. Now, sometimes to get around geo-blocking, you don't even need a VPN. In fact, you can actually just get, you know, some sites such as Proxfree or Zalmos or other sites I'm probably not allowed to talk about as an Australian citizen. Now, why does this happen? Why does geo-blocking exist? Now, I can't speak for companies specifically, such as Apple or Adobe. I can say, however, they're bastards. But I more importantly can say that it's due to international branches of marketing and a lot of licensing deals that get done. For example, back in the older days for digital content, there not necessarily was an international branch for Sony or for Adobe or for different other companies such as for film and television that they could actually happily produce and put out content. Usually they would have to make distribution deals with local developers and distributors to make sure that the film and television show got out there. Of course, that has changed over time with larger companies pushing themselves out international markets and basically representing themselves. Now, over time, this has changed, of course, because there are companies like Apple who own iTunes, and there's companies like Netflix that basically say like, hey, we're going to open up in a new country, then we can release our content there, i.e. we can release your content there. Now, when it comes to there's certain demographics or certain products to be sold, that is when marketing comes in and say, hey, we think this country would do well with this piece of content, or maybe they would like this show, or we know that this is something that we can push out to an international market, and that's when they put it out there. It's kind of interesting that when it comes to a lot of people saying like, oh, it's a digital copy, like why does it cost so much to come out here? It's not like you're shipping physical copies. That is fine, I can understand that argument, but more importantly, there is a lot of people who have to maintain these servers or have to look at the cost-benefit analysis of having their own server space to host that content or to deal with the traffic coming in to stream or to purchase or to download that content. And that costs a lot of money. That's a lot of stuff that I know I personally couldn't handle. I don't own a website, I don't maintain anything, but I know that there are certain platforms that can host my content that I'm willing to either pay for or to at least present as a piece of content that would eventually be marketed towards. For example, the thing that you're watching right now, if it's on YouTube, you know that there are ads before this or there are ads after this. If it's on Facebook, you'll see just in the little sidebar sort of thing there, or maybe on that side, that there are ads there as well. Basically, I'm a piece of content that has become marketing for a different company. And it's the same thing with Netflix. The reason that you watch or that you purchase Netflix is because that you think that there is content on there that you would want to watch. And obviously when a new platform comes out and somebody's like, why would I want that? There's nothing on there that I want to watch, and it's going to fail. And then not many people realize that they don't have a killer app or they don't have original content to basically look like they differentiate themselves. This would, for example, explain the case with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is only on Foxtel in Australia because they paid for the exclusivity for it. Now, this originally was going to be a video about how great HBO Now was, but obviously HBO Now has severed some ties with Australian content viewers and people who are willing to pay for their service. I was willing to pay for it. It was the day before I was going to sign up to HBO Now. I was going to grab, I actually still have the international Visa card that I was going to use to purchase it, but now that is not the case because essentially they have cut off our supply, which is unfortunate because most of my weekly viewing comes from HBO. It's Silicon Valley, it's Veep, it's Last Week Tonight, it's Game of Thrones. I was willing to pay for that content, but now I don't have many affordable options to do that. So why does this continue to happen? Well, geo-blocking can be a censorship thing, as I mentioned before. For example, if anybody is a gamer, they're aware that in Australia, we have, you know, an R rating system, which is for adults. That is totally fine. But more importantly, there is a lot of games that have been banned or basically have been neutered, depending on what kind of terminology you want to use, because we have a very weird system. For example, you can't play games like Postal 2, Manhunt, or Reservoir Dogs, because the content is essentially a little bit too risque or a little bit too much. I've actually played a few of those games, but I'm not allowed to tell you how I played those games. I can say, however, that you could use a VPN, or you could pretend that you're in a different country on Steam and you could purchase those games, or you could torrent them, but if you wanted to support the developer, it's a real catch-22 scenario, because legally, I could be put in jail for purchasing a game such as, I don't know, the uncensored version of South Park's Stick of Truth for PlayStation 3, or I could tell you, hey, don't give money to the people who spent a lot of time creating something that is quite interesting and original and a lot of fun to play. I think that it's not all doom and gloom. Like, the fact that we have VPNs, the fact that they are not completely outlawed in this country, and I don't even know how they would even track that, I think it's pretty awesome that it exists. For example, if you wanted to go with companies like TourGuard, that's $5 a month, or if you wanted to go for something like ExpressVPN, I know a few friends who use that, it's $8 a month, they have servers here in Australia, they're legally located outside of Australia, but they have servers here in Australia, which basically means that if you're worried about, no, the VPN's going to slow down my internet, you don't have to worry about that at all. Also, we have people fighting for fairer costs and less geo-blocking. The EF Australia, Choice, the Pirate Party, these are people who can keep you updated on talks about piracy, VPN, geo-blocking, etc. And they're also willing to fight for you. Sometimes they put out petitions. It's really not that hard. I know it's clicktivism. I know it's really simple to just put in your email address and be like, oh yeah, I support this. But every kind of person counts. Now, I understand why geo-blocking exists, but the whole reason the internet exists is to bring people together through culture. And I kind of hope by the time maybe that I'm 30 or 35, I'll have kids of my own, maybe we take down these invisible walls. Maybe we look at our content online and we say, hey, maybe it's a little bit ridiculous that the song Thank You by Busta Rhymes, Q-Tip, Kanye West, and Lil Wayne is banned in Germany, or I can't put it in a video and have somebody watch it because that song is in there. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. I think geo-blocking is fairly awful, and then I know I'm willing to pay for content that I really, really want to see, and I know that I'm really glad that there are companies like VHX who basically have no geo-blocking restrictions whatsoever when it comes to international content, and I thank those people for that, but I know that I want a fairer, across-the-line price. I want there to be less geo-blocking in this country, and I'm willing to sit through a couple of ads on Hulu and Comedy Central and to enjoy content. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit too positive, and more importantly, a bit too naive. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this episode of Harrison by the Stream. I want to thank the people who have supported this channel over the last few months. I know that I was away during April because of Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and I really wanted to make that opening. That was at the beginning of the episode that took so long to make. But yeah, I want to thank you all so much for watching this. I know this was a bit of a longer video, and I said I'd make some shorter videos, but I'm going to do that in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be releasing 2 episodes a month. I've been Harrison Engstrom. You've been watching Harrison by the Stream. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, leave some comments, ask some questions. It's all going to be fantastic. Man, Harrison by the Stream. Jesus Christ. It's too much energy for a video.